Hello and welcome to Mindful Living, where we explore the art of living with the intention, balance, and inner peace. I am Avik, your host, guiding you through conversations on health, meditation, mental well being, mindfulness, and the mind body connection. Each episode features expert insights to help you grow, heal, and thrive. So, take a deep breath, relax, and join us on this journey to a more mindful and fulfilling life. So, let's get started.
Hello and welcome, listeners, to the Mindful Living with your host, Sana. Today, we are diving into a powerful and unique way to achieve emotional freedom and mindfulness through the art of EFT or tapping. Our guest, Lauren Fonvielle, is an integrative energy practitioner and an EFT specialist who has helped countless people break free from the hold of stress, anxiety, and trauma. If you have ever wondered how a few simple taps can unlock so much of healing, or if you're ready to learn a mindfulness practice that goes beyond just meditation, you are in the right place, listeners. Today, Lauren will guide us through how EFT can help us live mindfully and break through barriers to a happier, healthier life. So let's get started. So, Lauren, welcome to the show, and it's an absolute pleasure having you with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Lovely. So, Lauren, before we go to know more explore about EFT, would you like to share a bit about your personal journey? What attracted or motivated you into the world of EFT?
Yeah, I really went on a healing journey of my own. I was dealing with a lot of stress and anxiety in my life, and I was looking for holistic ways of feeling better. And that really set me on this path of becoming a yoga teacher, a Reiki practitioner. I got really into meditation and sound healing. And then I was also introduced to EFT, and it really made a profound difference in how I felt. And I kept practicing it and studying it, and eventually went on to get certified so that I can share it with others.
Great. That is great, Lauren. So, for those who may be new to EFT, for our listeners, it's emotional freedom technique. So, if you can give us a quick rundown of what EFT is or tapping and how it works to release stress and anxiety.
Yeah. So EFT stands for the Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's this gentle process of gently tapping on certain areas of the body while you simultaneously acknowledge the emotions that you're feeling. And when I'm sharing this with someone who's new to the idea, I often compare it to acupuncture, because acupuncture is a process of where they take those tiny little needles and they put them in at certain points of the body. And so instead of needles, we're doing acupressure on some of those same points. And then there's this added component of speaking out loud and saying how you feel. And so it's really a beautiful practice of helping you to acknowledge your emotions and allow yourself to feel the feelings so that you can move through them and not get all stuck up in them.
Hmm. Great. That is interesting. The EFT seems to be have such a unique approach, especially with its physical tapping element. Um, how does this physical component help us process and release emotions compared to traditional talk therapy?
Yeah, so the somatic practice of actually tapping on on these different points has been shown to help reduce the amount of cortisol in the body. There was a study that was done by Dr. Peta Stapleton, who's based over in Australia, and the study showed that by tapping on the points, it helped to reduce the cortisol levels, which is that stress hormone, by up to 43%. And that's a really, really big number.
Yes. Yes.
And so it's basically sending a message to the amygdala in the brain, and the amygdala is the part of the brain that controls fight or flight or freeze.
Hmm.
And it's telling that part of the brain, hey, this is not a life or death situation. You do not need to be creating all of that cortisol and pumping it through the body. So slowly, that amygdala, that alarm center, starts to calm down. And when that is calming down, there's a reduction in the amount of cortisol that's being pumped throughout the body.
Hmm. And you have worked with clients or on overcoming trauma and chronic pain through EFT. So, can you
Yes.
share a powerful transformation you have witnessed and how tapping made a difference?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've worked with lots of people that have dealt with chronic pain in their bodies. Um, I worked with a woman who was dealing with a lot of shoulder pain,
Mhm.
and she had gone to the doctor and had gotten scans, and everything was coming back normal, yet she was dealing with this chronic pain in the shoulder. And so when we first start tapping on it, we tap about the physical sensations and how does it make her feel that she's dealing with this pain. And she was talking about how frustrated she was, how annoying it was, how limiting it was. And so we're using those words, we're repeating those words as we're tapping on these different points. And I think the question that I had asked her was, does this pain remind you of anything or make you think about anything in particular? And it was kind of an aha moment for her when she just kind of blurted out like this pain in my shoulder. It makes me feel like I'm being strangled. And there was a lot of intensity, and she was shocked by that. She was kind of stunned by her own words. She's like, "Oh, I've never said that before. Like, I don't think I really realized that before." And so then we were tapping on those words of feeling like, or it was reminding her of like this feeling of being strangled. And then when I asked her, like, how long has she been dealing with the pain? She shared that it had been going on for about 2 years. And when I asked her if something specific had been going on in her life 2 years ago that she could remember, she said that was when she first left her husband. And
Mhm.
um, and then she did go on to share that there was some physical abuse that was going on. And so it was kind of this aha moment, this light bulb went off that like, oh wow, this started when I was, when I left him. It's making me think of this, this physical sensation that I at one time experienced. And as she kind of brought that to light and we were tapping on that and saying it all out loud, she really felt different. She felt a shift in the physical pain, and she felt it lessen. So sometimes by just acknowledging the emotions that are associated with it, or visions that come to mind, you can really begin to shift the sensation that you're experiencing in the body.
Wow, that is interesting. Great. And some people would, say, or critics may argue that the benefits of EFT are largely due to a placebo effect. What would you
Mhm.
say to those who are skeptical of EFT's effectiveness?
Yeah, I would say try it. I mean, a lot of, and I can understand skeptics, like I was skeptical, it can feel like a kind of weird thing when somebody tells you, oh, try this tapping thing to feel better physically, mentally, and emotionally. You're like, oh, okay, I'm going to tap on myself and feel better. That sounds weird. But I was also at a point in my life where I was really stressed out, and all the things that I had been trying were not working, and so I was willing to try anything
Mhm.
to feel better. And a lot of the time, that's when people come to me, is when they've tried all sorts of other things, and for whatever reason, whether it's a friend who recommended it, or they saw a documentary, or they read a book and found out about tapping, whatever the reason may be, they are like, I've tried all these things, nothing's worked. I'm willing to try tapping. And so, if you're skeptical, I would say give it a try and see if it's going to be the thing that helps you. I mean, as humans, we want to understand what's happening. Why is it working, right? Like there's a real desire to understand what's going on inside the brain, that I'm actually feeling better. And I had that curiosity too. And there are tons of studies, for people to read about, and they've even done brain scans of showing how the brain lights up differently after tapping and how it reduces anxiety. So there's tons of resources for people to look at. But what it really boils down to is, how does it make you feel? And if it makes you feel better, even the slightest bit better, then it's worth it. And you don't need to worry so much about why it's working or how it's working, but just kind of send up some gratitude for the fact that it's helping you. I mean, I think that's
Yeah,
really it's about, is if it makes you feel better, then do it.
exactly. Exactly. That's a great answer. So EFT also seems to support mindful living by connecting us with our emotions. How can tapping help someone become more aware of their thoughts and feelings in everyday life?
Yeah. So I really believe that it's a wonderful tool to help cultivate that relationship between the mind and the body. And as human beings, we're pretty aware of the physical sensations, right? Like, we can have aches and pains in our body, and oftentimes we'll just deal with them and power through, keep going, right? That's what, like, society tells us to do. But there can be some real shifts that happen when you tune into that pain, right? So if let's just talk about stress, right? Because I think a lot of people can relate to this. So if you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed,
Mhm.
most people, if I ask them, where do you feel that in your body? Most people are going to have an answer to that. When I'm stressed, I feel a lot of tension in my neck and my shoulders. Or when I'm stressed, I get headaches. Or when I'm stressed, I get stomach aches, right? Most people have a reaction to that. They know that when they're stressed, they feel it physically. But what people don't always realize is that it's not just with stress that we feel things physically in our body.
Mhm.
It's with any emotion. So sadness, anger, frustration, all of these things can have a physical sensation that's associated with it. And we might not, automatically make that connection. So if you're someone that, for example, is dealing with back pain,
Mhm.
and you start tapping on maybe you would describe it as like a sharp stabbing pain, and so you can use those words as you're tapping on the points, like this sharp stabbing pain. And then maybe you start thinking about how frustrating it is that you can't do certain activities that you normally love to do. And then maybe it's, you're really feeling that frustration. Maybe there's anger there. So there is a power in acknowledging all of these emotions that we've been avoiding feeling. And then
Mhm.
that in itself can sometimes lessen the sensation. And other times it can simply be asking a question like, if the physical sensation that you're experiencing right now could talk to you, what would it say? And that might sound like a silly question, but if you allow yourself the opportunity to really pause and think and see, what would my body say? There's likely going to be an answer there, and there can be a message in that for you. And so I just feel like tapping is really this beautiful gateway to connecting the mind and the body together.
That is interesting. Um, Another perspective, Lauren, is that practices like tapping, they focus too much on individual healing rather than addressing larger systemic issues of stress or trauma. So, how do you balance the personal empowerment of EFT with awareness of these broader challenges?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that we can tap on larger issues for sure. But I think the real where you'll notice the real benefit of tapping is when you really do get specific for yourself, and what it means for you and how it's showing up in your life, right? I mean, we could tap on the desire for world peace, and we
Yeah.
might all have different thoughts on that, or what's preventing that from happening, or, but, and I think it's important to tap on that. And as a collective, we can do that. And I think that there's power when people come together to tap on larger issues. But with tapping in general, what is helpful is that you can start with a larger issue, like I'm overwhelmed, right? Like I'm just really overwhelmed. And as you tap, it's this idea of really kind of circling in and getting to the point of figuring out, what am I really overwhelmed about? Is it this project that I have at work that I think that's what I'm overwhelmed about? Or is it all these other things that have happened over time that are contributing to this feeling that I'm having right now? So getting specific is a really important part of tapping.
True. I totally agree with that. Great. And some people think of EFT as just a stress reliever, but you believe it has the power to help people shift deeply held beliefs. So, could you explain how that works?
Yeah, sure. So, we have these core beliefs, and a lot of the time our core beliefs come from our parents or the people that we were around the most when we were growing up. And so sometimes core beliefs can be, I'm not lovable, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worthy, or there's tons of beliefs around money, like, hearing things like money doesn't grow on trees, or rich people are evil, or greedy, these things that we heard and then we took on, and we took on as truth, right? And then as adults, these beliefs might be impacting us, right? These beliefs might be impacting how we show up in our business. They might impact how we show up with our friends and our loved ones. And so the beliefs might not be serving us anymore. And tapping can help you kind of peel back the layers to get to the root of why, or where this started, or why you feel the way you do, or why you're thinking the way that you're thinking. And when we kind of shed that light of awareness and examine that, then we can begin to shift our perspective. And so, when we begin to think differently, then we feel differently. And then when we feel differently, we take different action in our life. And when we take different action in our life, we get a different result. And I think that's ultimately what it's about, is because if there's a belief that you have that is not serving you anymore, and you want to change it, it's getting to the root and figuring out why.
Great. That is great. And for listeners who want to try tapping on their own, what are some easy ways to start incorporating EFT into their daily mindfulness practices?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you could start by just, looking up the points and just tapping and breathing on the points. There are also tons of tapping videos that are on YouTube that you can access. I post a new tapping video every week. And so you can find me on YouTube if you look up Mind Shift with Lauren. And the only thing I'll say about that, though, is with, any video that you're tapping along with, what's really important is that the words that you're saying resonate with how you're feeling. So if the words that the practitioner is saying just aren't really hitting with how you're feeling, I would encourage you to really pause the video and really think about how you are feeling and what words you want to say, because that's when it's going to be most effective for you. But I do think that the videos are a wonderful way of introducing people to tapping, and getting them comfortable with identifying where the points are, and really how to begin to move through the process.
Great, Lauren. And finally, if our listeners, they want to connect with you, explore more about EFT, how they can do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at mindshiftwithlauren.com. I also have a free masterclass on my website, which is mindshiftwithlauren.com/masterclass. And that just gives more details about tapping and some more science behind it. And then also, if you look me up on YouTube, it's Mindshift with Lauren, or Instagram, you can find me Mindshift with Lauren. And yeah, I'd love to chat with you. If you have questions about any videos or thoughts on your tapping experience, I'd love to hear from you.
Lovely. We'll have all the details mentioned in the show notes. And Lauren, thank you so much for opening our minds to the transformative power of EFT tapping. I mean,
Thanks so much.
incredible to learn from you how the simple hands on technique can create profound shifts, allowing us to live with more presence, be more mindful. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. I
So, listeners, Lauren's insights
appreciate
remind us. Great, great. So, listeners,
it.
insights remind us that mindful living isn't just about observing our thoughts, but about actively releasing what no longer serves us. So, if you're ready to experience a new level of emotional freedom, why not give tapping a try? You can refer the show notes along with this episode. And thank you to everyone for joining us on Mindful Living. And remember to keep tapping into your potential for a more mindful, balanced life. Until next time, stay curious and stay present. Thank you.